Steve, would you like to share with us your framework that you're
Yeah,
finding useful right now?
yeah. Well, just to give you a little bit of context, I'm a 58-year-old chartered accountant based here in Yorkshire, so 200 miles north of London, Leeds to be specific. We have my son, and who's one of the authors of the book, one of the editors of the book, Better Business, Better Life, Better World, that we co-wrote together, Kerry. He lives in the house with us with his girlfriend, and she's got serious asthma, so we have to be very protective. And she's also crucially important to the food supply chain. She works as a buyer for one of the major supermarkets, and we've got elderly relations as well. So we're basically locked down even more than most people are, and sort of therefore run the risk of feeling slightly powerless, which I guess many of us do feel powerless. The things that we used to be able to do, the places that we used to be able to go, but more importantly, the hand of friendship that we used to be able to physically reach out and offer to people isn't possible anymore because we can't actually go and give it to them, for all of those reasons. And so there's a huge amount of fear and uncertainty around, isn't there? But I've got this little framework which really helps me come to terms with that, but not just come to terms with it because that's just sort of neutralizing it, but actually feel pretty good about it in many ways. And I was thinking about it, and it kind of fits nicely in an A, B, C, and then unconventionally a D as well, not just the A, B, C. So the A is accept. We have to accept this situation. We don't have a choice around it. But we don't just have to accept the situation. I think we have to accept the reality that things will never be the same again. When we come out the other end of this, if you have Donald Trump's mindset at Easter or other people's mindset in 12 months' time or whatever time frame it actually is, things will never be the same again. The economy will not be the same again. Society will not be the same again. Norms will not be the same again. Business will not be the same again. So nothing will be the same again. And we just have to accept that. But I think the B then for me is that we have to believe that different, and it will be different, that new normal, that different can actually be better. We have to believe that it can and will be better. And we're already seeing elements of that better already with this wave of kindness, which is spilling out all over the place. People, desperate to help other people in whatever ways they can. There's a headline in one of today's newspapers. I haven't got the newspaper, but I heard it on the radio where, we have the NHS, the National Health Service here. And they're calling for a sort of a coordinated attempt at getting volunteers together, and it's loosely called the National Help Service, which I just think is so we've got an alternative NHS, the National Help Service, rather than the Health Service. But it's indicative, isn't it, of this wave of kindness, which we're seeing, this outpouring of it. And you and I have both been, for many years through our businesses, trying to generate more of this wave of kindness ourselves and showing other businesses how to do that and trying to lead a little tiny bit by example. But we're actually seeing it flowing, overflowing in every corner. And I think that's hugely exciting. We've got the fact that the climate is getting better as a result of rather climate change, and environmental damage is being lessened. We're all going to, I think, adapt to this new reality where we don't expect to have so much stuff. We've begun to focus on the things that are really important and put those things first. And they're not possessions, it's people. It's love, it's kindness, it's relationships, it's connection. So I think that new world, I genuinely believe that whilst it will be different, and we have to accept that it will be different, it will never be the same again, that new normal will be better. So there's the second component, my A.B.C.D model. The C part of it is to cherish, cherish what we have and cherish what we've had in the past as well. Because we are so blessed, we are so fortunate that, to live in this time, even in this time, 2021, let alone in 2020, when we're even more blessed, you could say. But, we are so blessed to be where we are and have what we have. And, in our relationships and our lives and love and kindness and connection and so on, and things and stuff and experiences and joy. So we really should take stock of that. And that helps us really begin to accept the situation and believe that things can be even better. Whilst they'll be different, they'll be better. And I came across a really interesting, a really lovely idea. Now, I have to say, I haven't yet started doing it, only came across it the other day, but I think it's very simple, and it's something that I intend to do, which is, every day have a jar. I actually have, this is my big jar that's been next to my desk for for many years. It currently has 3 marbles in. When my kids, they're now fully grown adults, but when they were children, I put a marble in this right up to there for every weekend before the oldest one would be 18, and therefore I assumed would grow up, leave home, I'd lose her in inverted commas.
Yeah.
And every weekend on a Friday, I would take out a marble and throw it away as a reminder to myself that I will never get this weekend again. We will never have this weekend again as a family with the kids.
Wow.
And therefore we ought to do something. We ought to enjoy and appreciate and cherish that weekend. Now, I've got to there's now only 3 marbles left, which just signifies the 3 children, because we've got way past them being 18, they're 25 and 29. But so I already have this jar. My intention with this jar now is to have a little pile of Post-it notes next to it. And whenever something happens, or I remember something, or I experience something that makes me happy, something that I should be grateful for, just write it on the little Post-it note and drop it in that. And then, so every day you'll build, and you've got it already. Well, maybe it's an idea I got from you. I don't remember where I got it from, Kerry, but it's exactly the same idea, isn't it? It's this idea that we can cherish the things which we already have, that we're already blessed with. So there's just a little practical thing that I'm going to start. You're obviously more of an action taker to me because you have already started. But it's extraordinary. Is that something you've just been doing recently? Or
No,
there's a lot in there.
Yes, and I just was wondering, was there dates on it? I can see one from Lyndon, 28th of the 4th, 16.
Oh, right. Oh, you have been doing it for a long time.
18th of the 2nd, 16.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So clearly you can't rely on me and giving you any new ideas, because you've been years ahead of me in them. But nevertheless, it's a great idea, isn't it? And it's part of that cherish thing. So A is accept the situation, because things will never be the same again. B is believe that, that new normal, which will be different, but also will be better, or certainly can be better. Cherish. C is the cherish what we've got, what we have, what we've had, and maybe capture that through the gratitude bowl kind of thing. And the D is do stuff. Actually do things that make things better, because each and every one of us has a responsibility to contribute to being the change we want to see, to making sure that this new normal, the new world that we come out the other side of this in is actually better. Yeah. And we'll all do that in our respective ways. And one of the ways in which you're obviously doing that is these sessions, because they're contributing to helping people to get through this and to come out the other side stronger and so on. I'm in the process of, and I'm very much hoping that you will be one of the speakers on it, pulling together a maybe weekly or maybe more frequent series of video broadcasts, but which will be not about coronavirus, not about the world that we're in, but about inspiring stories about how people have achieved amazing things, or life skills that we can transfer. So, for example, helping people speak to strangers is a brilliant life skill that will enrich their lives forever and a day. Another really practical thing that we might look at is how you could sit down and write your life story. There are plenty of people who've got all this time on their hands and often have said, well, it wouldn't be great if I captured my story, so I could hand it down to future generations. This is the time to do that. And with a little bit of guidance, a little bit of insight, it's not quite frankly difficult to do. If it was difficult to write books, I wouldn't have written 7 or 8, because I don't do things that are difficult, and I'm not capable of doing things that are difficult. But with a little bit of insight, we can start doing things like that. So that I'm looking to build this weekly broadcast to be completely free, world-class speakers sharing insights, sharing stories, sharing stuff which is uplifting and positive and enriches life, gives us something to smile about, gives us something to focus on and to keep ourselves busy and to stave off the demons and so on. And one of the other things which I've made a commitment to do is, I don't know about you, but I'm suddenly finding that because I'm trapped in the house, a whole host of things which I used to spend money on, I can no longer spend money on. I can't spend money on going out for meals or going to the theatre, or even my gym membership. They're refunding my gym membership. You look at my waistline, I don't go to the gym very often, but they're refunding the money. The holiday that we had booked, we're not going on. We lose a little bit of money, but mostly we won't. It's cancelable. Point is that, for some of us, not for everyone, I appreciate for many people, it's hurting economically, it's hurting financially, and but there are some of us who are on fixed incomes or retired, or for whatever reason, you know, our income stream hasn't necessarily changed to any significant extent, but our spending has gone through the floor because there's nowhere to go and spend it. And I've committed that I will use a chunk of that reduction in my spending to try and help make the world a better place. Now, we're both, you know this, but for the benefit of everyone else, you and I are both, you know, really passionate members of the B1G1 Business for Good community, which means we have, you know, an ability very easily to reach out and make a difference to people while sitting at our desks, by supporting projects around the world, and quite frankly, never have, you know, people in less fortunate positions, you know, the homeless in Vietnam, for example. You just imagine my three, two of my three children, we have a 29-year-old junior doctor and 26-year-old twins. The two girls of the three were on a trip. They were actually in Costa Rica and pretty much almost got stranded there with their other halves. We managed to get them back with phenomenal effort on the part of our travel agent, which was such a great relief. And they're now in quarantine here because they've gone through the traveling thing and the risk of that. But you know, our travel agent moved mountains to move things around and get them on flights that kept getting cancelled before countries were locked down and borders closed and flights cancelled. But we got them home, and massively grateful for that. One of the places that Laura and her husband were most looking forward to going to was Vietnam. Now, in Vietnam, as in many places, there's terrible, you know, street kid culture. There's a terrible homelessness problem. You know, my kids were lucky enough to be able to come home and have somewhere safe to ride out the storm, as it were. But if you're a homeless person in this country, or indeed anywhere, if you don't have a financial safety net and you don't have a health system that's of the sort of standard that, I mean, our health systems can't cope, let alone the health systems in other parts of the world. You know, how much more desperate is the situation for people like that? So, you know, we decided, for example, that we would reach out and for every day of this year, would go back to the beginning of the year, that for every day of this year, we would do a number of things. We would use the savings that we've made by not spending to plant at least one tree a day to try and tackle the underlying ongoing challenge that we have around climate and environment, that will put a roof over a homeless person's head and feed a homeless person every day. We'll give rabies vaccination to a street dog every day to stop that being a problem. We'll provide a vulnerable child in Cambodia with clean water, food, library books, the use of a bicycle. I don't know yet whether they can use the bicycle still to go to school or whether they'll be locked down. But generally speaking, if you don't have a bicycle, often you can't physically get to school in the daylight hours, and therefore basically you don't get an education. We'll provide for every day, we'll provide a refugee with medical care for that day. And a few other things. The point is, we can do all of those things at a few pushes of a button. I can't go out and show the physical, reach out the physical hand of friendship because I'm locked down in a house. And I'm, in many cases, from the homeless child in Vietnam, thousands and thousands of miles away, a country that wouldn't let me in even if I was able to go. But I can nevertheless, we can adapt what we do to fit the new realities. And so I'm adapting my spending pattern to try and do something. So the D in my model, D in my little acronym is, do stuff to make things better. And at this time more than ever before, I think we need to step up and help others in every and any way we can.
Yeah, that's right. That's beautiful, Steve. So accept, things are not going to be the same. And there's that accepting what we can't do and considering what we can do, which comes up. So, believe it will be better. And Karen has just said, speaking of the environment, it has cleared up so much since the shutdown.
For sure.
There's otters running around in Singapore, which I have had the privilege of seeing when I was staying at a hotel right on the river. And a very early morning walk, we saw families of otters playing on the riverbank. It was just stunning. And, the waters have cleared up in Venice and there's some beautiful things happening. So thanks for joining us, Mohammed. So he's calling in from Egypt. We've got Steve from England, Karen from England, Lyndon and Ethan and I from across Australia. So we're just going through Steve's A.B.C.D. So believe it will be better. And that love and kindness, we're seeing that in so many ways. And that's really beautiful. And I've been talking about that a lot in the past week because I can't leave home. But what I can do, because I'm in isolation from being overseas, what I can do is get online and encourage people. I can open up my calendar. I can be having these conversations. And so that's been really great. And cherish, I think that is beautiful. Steve, you called me an action taker. And I was thinking this afternoon about what an incredible action taker you are. I'm like, you are prolific. You're always doing something extraordinary and going, Kerry, can you check this website? Can you have a look at what I'm doing? And I'm like, Steve, I can't keep up with all the amazing things you're doing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing stuff with you.